Happy Flannel Friday, fellow fishing friends. I have a special unboxing, or rather, an unbagging video for you today. So just kind of preface this, I kind of keep my eyes on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, just sites in general for fishing gear. Not that I buy very often, but every once in a while I'll come across a bargain that I can't turn down. And I came across an ad that said, Fishing Bang O Lures, $20. And I had to look at it twice because I had no idea what a Bang O lure was. Anyway, I contacted the seller. I said, hey, I saw your ad and I saw the picture. The picture was, basically a clear plastic box with a glare on it, so you couldn't really see what was inside. And I said, hey, I think I'm interested. Can I come and take a look? And the person responded pretty quickly and said, yes, anytime. Just let me know when. So I arranged the time, went to this person's house, and it turned out to be an older woman, probably in her mid to late 70s. And she had this bag of fishing lures and said, these are my husband's. He passed away not too long ago. I'm just trying to clear up some space in the house and thought I'd sell these. Okay, so I took a look and I said, yes, I would like to buy these. And the price was $20. So that's what I'm bringing you today, is this bag of lures for $20 that I bought. Plus, there were a couple boxes of trilene in there. Where I live, there are 2 or 3 different rivers that people fish on, as well as a large shallow lake. So seeing a lot of monofilament is not unusual here. A lot of people will fish mono. I'm sure they sell trilene by the bucket loads here. So I wasn't surprised to see there's a little bit of trilene thrown in there. There's one full spool, and I believe this one's like a half spool. So, instead of 110 yards, I probably got 50 yards. This one's probably got, out of the 330 yards, there's probably another 125 yards on here. It's not full either. I thought one of them was full, but I was wrong. So I've got some trilene, some backing line if I need it. Not the exciting part that we're here to talk about. So what I saw and what she bagged up for me was this kit plus this kit plus this bag and this bag. And what she said was, my husband had these, he bought them. I don't know if he ever used them or not. So I just kind of want to get rid of them. And it wasn't actually a Bang-O minnow or a Bang-O lure. It was a Banjo minnow. So the Banjo minnow fishing system came out. I can't even tell you when that was. There's a lot of history. If you go to YouTube, there's a channel called Retro Basset, and he's got a whole series on the Banjo minnow. Kind of explains the history behind it, talks about the inventor and the whole process that he took. But anyway, when I was younger, and it was in college, I had a group of friends, and on Saturday mornings, recovering from whatever we happened to have imbibed the Friday night before, we'd watch fishing shows. And during those fishing shows, you'd sometimes get, in between them, you'd get, the infomercials on TV, and one of them was a Banjo minnow. So what I did was I bought a Banjo minnow kit. I don't think I ever used it. Sat in my garage, never went fishing. My dad eventually just threw it out, I think, because it was part of the junk that I had left there when I moved out. And anyway, I'd always regretted doing that because I thought, the Banjo minnow put on a pretty good TV show or a TV infomercial. I wondered if it would ever actually work. So I went ahead and bought a bunch of these from this woman, and I am going to give them a try. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, it's just another gimmick. But if we talk about what we have and how to fish it, you'll see it's very similar to baits that are out there right now, specifically soft lure jerk baits or flukes. It's definitely not a swim bait. There is no swim involved in the tail. Pull one of these out and show you a close-up of what it is. You know, he talks about the special living plastic in the infomercials quite a bit. I don't see anything special about the living plastic. It feels like a standard soft plastic lure. They have done a pretty good job of molding in scale details and the fin details. Those are pretty nice. You know, you've got your fin lines and scales, and you know, you have an eye that's molded in. You'll notice that the nose is kind of a blunt and abrupt nose. There's a reason for that, and I'll show you that in a minute. I think if you start to think of this as more of a fluke or a jerk bait, you're probably getting a better idea of how you should fish this lure. I know that they were famous for the banjo look. Let's see if I can't find the little rubber bands here and show you what I'm talking about. So in the kit it came with hooks, came with weighted screw eyes, it came with screw locks, various jig heads to go with your flying lure. I don't even know what the heck you would call this thing. Sorry, banjo minnow. Did I say flying lure? I meant banjo minnow. The hooks are sharp. So these kind of oddly shaped hooks. And I think initially when it came out, the banjo referred to these little rubber bands that he called the weed guards. So he watched the infomercial and he talked quite a bit about the weed guards and how great the weed guards were, and how the weed guards helped, you know, as part of the banjo system and really made the banjo minnow special. But basically, all that little rubber band does is it hooks up under the barb of the hook and stretches over, and you hook it. Actually, the eyes on these hooks are not closed, they're open, so you slide it under the eye. I'm not gonna be able to do that right now with my hands, I don't think. So when you do that, it creates, I'm not gonna be able to get it, but I can at least demonstrate what it looks like. So it looks like that, and I guess it does give a little bit of protection against weeds. You've got your barb is, you know, either side of the initial hook point there, the rubber band stays, and then you've got, you know, the barb is kind of covered up by the rubber band, and in theory, when the fish bites on it, that rubber band pops down, and you hook your fish, and he gets hooked on the hook, and you reel him in. That's not really what makes the banjo minnow special, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. They thought that the little rubber plastic band thingy, because that's what they focused on, and I believe that was probably misdirection on their part. Good on them. You know, don't show your real secret. Your real secret are these little screw locks. So the little screw locks, I pull out, where's my, I think I want to use that one. I think I will demonstrate on a chartreuse. So your screw lock fits into the nose of your lure. You give it a little squeeze and you screw it in there, and it gives you somewhere to put your hook. Inside of the kit, there's also a little baggie. I don't know what the heck I did with it. There's a little baggie of small black O-rings, and those small black O-rings fit on either side of the hook. So you'll put one on right about there on the bend of the hook. You'll put that hook through the eyelet, and then you put the other little rubber O-ring in front of it, so it kind of gives it a stopper, and it doesn't allow that Doesn't allow that lock-on screw eye that you screwed in there to go beyond the boundaries when you're fishing. So what you've got is a jerk bait that doesn't have any stiffness in the front half of the lure. There's a little bit where that screw lock is, not a ton, but otherwise you've got a floppy lure that has great action in the water. And that's where the secret of this thing is. It's in that action of the lure. So as you're fishing it, you use a standard jerk, and it does dart and squirm through the water, and it looks just like a dying minnow because it's got great action. There's no hook in there to cause this front half to be stiff and the rear half to go wobbly. The whole thing moves like a natural fish would move. That's where your real secret is. There's a couple different ways to fish it too. You can fish it with the hook face up or parallel with the line of the bait, the hook tip parallel with the line of the bait. That gives you good action, and you can turn it 90 degrees, even 45 degrees to the side, and it gives a little different action. It lays that bait like upside down, or it lays it at a 45-degree angle crooked. So as you're fishing it, it's got different action. So you can try with the same plastic setup, just by turning that little screw lock, you can have 2 or 3 different kinds of action as you're fishing that lure. Standard soft body lure tactics work well with it. So if you're doing, like a cast out, give it a pause, jerk, jerk, reel, jerk, jerk, reel, or I've seen it just jerk, reel, jerk, reel, jerk, reel, jerk, reel. Depends on how you normally fish it. Try different ways, but it does entice the fish to bite. And there's lots of videos on people fishing these things and catching bass. I cannot wait to get out and try this. I'm not going to be using the chartreuse color. I will probably be using something a little more natural. I think these are some of the original flying lures. Banjo minnows. The ones that there are today, they have a kind of a holographic eye, so it's a little bit bigger and it's plastic. I've seen reports where those fall out. But these older ones are, it's all printed on or it's molded into the plastic. This is a pearl with black printed on graphics on it, a little bit of red. Comes in a few different lengths. I think it's 4-inch and 5-inch. I've got some smaller ones in here too somewhere. This whole mess of a kit. Got natural colors, like, you look at something like that looks like a baby bass or a baby perch. Maybe not a baby pike, but you get the idea. The kit also came with the Banjo Frog. There's no difference between this and a regular soft body frog. Standard tail. It's not rigged with that screw lock. This one isn't anyway. You can do that. There's no real advantage to it because a little bit of stiffness in the front of the frog isn't going to change the action nearly as much as a little bit of stiffness would in a minnow fluke jerk bait like that. So I think the frogs were just kind of thrown in there as a little extra for people. Here's that smaller size where if you're fishing early in the season and you're experiencing no hits on larger baits, you can move to a smaller bait. Obviously you'd move to a smaller hook. The same screw locks would work with it. And I think it comes with 2 or 3 different size hooks. 3 different size hooks. This just happened to be the largest hook. So I'd use a smaller hook with a smaller bait, obviously. But yeah, so in my opinion, the real secret of the Banjo minnow is the fact that you are putting no stiffness in the body whatsoever. All the action of the body remains the same. It's out there, it's loose, it's wiggly. You've got nothing that blocks up the front of the bait and just leaves the back half twitching. The whole thing is moving and it's darting around in the water. If you want, you can use a nail weight. I know the kit came with some nail weights, so you can drop a nail weight in there and make it a little more weighted. The disadvantage to a nail weight is it is going to add some stiffness to the front, although there were some weighted jig heads in here, which I think would fish just fine. I'm not too worried about having a little bit of hook out in front. I'm not convinced that a bass would see that hook and say, oh no, I'm not going to get the giant bait behind it. You know, some people use that argument. I don't agree with it. I don't think bass really care. I think they're hungry, and I think, you know, once they get that genetic response to eat something, they're going to eat it one way or another. So anyway, I got a pretty big kit. I've got lots of goodies inside of there, lots of different banjo minnows. Cannot wait to get out and try these. And when I do, I will be sure and post videos of it and let you know what, if anything, I catch. So there you go. That's my opinion and review of the banjo minnow, or the bango minnow, as this woman called it, that I got online. So have yourselves a happy Friday. I hope you're catching lots of fish, and I will see you out on the water.